Can I be perfectly honest with you guys for a second? I didn't actually plan for this to be a video. I actually wrote out an entire thing on the Danny Boyle movie Steve Jobs and one specific scene, but after finishing the writing part, life kinda got in the way and the essay fell by the wayside. I will revisit it though, because I really like that essay, hopefully sooner rather than later. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that this idea sort of just popped into my head late one night when I couldn't sleep. I've recently been playing Spider-Man Miles Morales on the PS5, and good God is it amazing. Insomniac Games managed to create not one, but two fantastic Spider-Man games that not only perfectly captured the essence of what it means to be Spider-Man, but created such an enthralling and emotional gaming experience. But what does that have to do with anything in regards to the title of my video? Playing these games had me thinking back to the past adaptations of our webbed hero. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man is fondly remembered as a shining example on how to adapt Spidey,
pizza time,
while Disney and Marvel are frequently credited with reigniting fans' love for the character. But there's one version of Spidey that unfortunately fell victim to a mismanaged franchise, but still managed to be a, in my opinion, terrific adaptation of the character. That Spider-Man is played by Andrew Garfield.
I view Peter Parker as, not as necessarily as a nerd per se, because I think nerd in the current world means a different thing, but the perennial type is the outsider. He's the guy who isn't accepted by the crowd, maybe doesn't want to be entirely, does his own thing, and that, I think, is what made it appealing to me.
See, I know Tom Holland has that quirky, kid-like hilarity to his Spider-Man that most modern teens identify with, and I know Tobey Maguire has the aw shucks wholesomeness to his Peter that immediately endears us to him, but truth be told, I never really related to either of these incarnations of the character. Unfortunately, I very much identified with this guy. And I say unfortunately because Garfield's Peter is awkward, keeps to himself, and is kind of a dick. The dude walks around with a chip on his shoulder, but still somehow very much exemplifies what it means to be a hero. Long before a spider even comes close to Peter, this version of the character is already defending those who feel helpless. That being said though, he still can't talk to girls, doesn't really respect the authority of teachers, and forgets to do things that his aunt and uncle asked him to do. This was me. This is what I envisioned Peter Parker to be. Despite growing up with the Sam Raimi films, movies which I love with all my heart, it wasn't until Garfield's Spider-Man that I saw myself under the mask. One of the best things about Spider-Man is the feeling that he could be anyone. That's what Marc Webb and Andrew Garfield did for me.
They're like, well, what do you want to do? What would make this viable to you? And I said, well, if we start over, if we invite new information about the story that people haven't seen before, and we give this kid an edge that I think that any kid who loses his parents at that young of an age, there's an enormous emotional consequence that will color his life from that point forth.
Peter, come back here, please.
Garfield's Peter thinks the world is ending with every decision. Like a teenager, he stupidly lashes out at his aunt and uncle over something that could have been avoided, like a teenager. And with all of that, he faces real consequences that he has to fix, like a teenager. What Marc Webb understands so well about Peter Parker is that he has yet to realize the gifts he's been given. Growing up, we usually don't understand what people see in us until a much later point. I mean, hell, as a teen, my main focus was playing PS4, watching movies, and trying to just get by in life. Peter is simply trying to navigate high school, a bully, and a girl he has a crush on but can't talk to. Even when Peter gets his spider powers, his first instinct is to take revenge on a bully, something a pissed off teenager would probably do. And again, he faces consequences for it. This time though, he can't really fix it. The chain of events that started with Peter taking revenge on Flash actually ends with the death of Uncle Ben. This is Peter's lowest point, the moment where the world truly feels like it's ending and you're unable to stop it from happening. Unlike Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, this Peter still isn't a hero. He lets his emotions get the better of him and again chooses revenge. He dons a suit and hunts for his uncle's killer in the night. The quips are still there.
Is that a real knife?
Yes, it's a real knife.
My weakness, it's small knives.
Just let me go.
Anything but knives!
Oh, it's so simple. That was cool. What the hell is this?
But there is a sense of darkness shrouding this Spider-Man. The chip on his shoulder is now real. Peter walks the halls alone, avoiding everybody.
You're a lot like your father. You really are, Peter, and that's a good thing. But your father lived by a philosophy, a principle, really. He believed that if you could do good things for other people, you had a moral obligation to do those things. That's what's at stake here. Not choice, responsibility.
I think having Peter act like this was probably the best decision that the first Amazing Spider-Man movie made, because it adds so much weight to Peter's first actual hero moment in the suit, which is saving a kid from a destroyed bridge. Peter has the choice between going after a mutant lizard. I don't really know what happened to the lizard in this movie. I hope the MCU does the character justice. Or helping a terrified stranger rescue his son. Here, Peter is finally able to sort of fix the mistake he made with Uncle Ben and reunite a boy with his father, something he'll never actually be able to do in real life. He understands now what Ben was trying to say to him earlier in the film, and that he's been given a gift. We see Peter sit alone in his room, his mask staring back at him. It's as if Peter and Spider-Man were separate entities up until this point. One was a scared boy who had just lost the only father he had ever known. The other was an entity created to avenge the death of said father. But in this moment, after saving that boy from the bridge, that scared boy merged with that entity to become something greater. A superhero. New York's only Spider-Man. So those were my really quick ramblings on why I love Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. As always, let me know what you liked, let me know what you didn't like. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, I've been Nick Pulmanakos, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later, everyone.